All right, crew, welcome back to another episode of the Pardon My Pancreas podcast. Now, today we're jumping in with a guest. This is actually one of my current clients. Is going to give you a look behind the curtain and show you what's going on in the program, what she's learned, and share with us her top 3 breakthrough moments from the program in relation to keeping her blood sugars nice and controlled, smooth, and steady. And she wanted to share that with you guys. So we're going to skip our theme song for today, jump right in because Robin's got some incredible insights for us, and I cannot wait for you to hear her story along with those breakthrough moments for her. All right, so let's get into the interview. Well, Robin, I am so excited to have you with us here today, sharing your story and diving in about just the changes you've made with your diabetes. But before we get into the details of it all, I would love to give the audience kind of an idea of who you are, what you're doing with your diabetes, and where you came from. So, if you could give us maybe like a little bit about your history with diabetes, maybe how long ago were you diagnosed? Is it new? Is it something you've been living with for a while? Are you on a pump or MDI, that sort of thing?
Okay. Well, interestingly, all 4 of my grandparents had type 2 diabetes. My dad had type 2, but they were insulin dependent and kind of overweight, kind of runs in the family. All 4 of my grandparents were from Europe. They were all immigrants. And so I've known about diabetes all my life. I remember watching my dad give himself insulin injections as a small child. And so it's been kind of in the background of my life. And I wanted to avoid the whole diabetic thing. However, when I got in my middle years, my doctor said I had type 2 diabetes. And so that would be about 2000, around 2000 when I was first diagnosed. And I really made a lot of attempts to watch my diet and exercise as a way to manage this. For me, it's a hereditary, predisposition. So I dropped a lot of weight a couple of times. But it kind of crept up. It's very hard to live a life, and all of our holidays are wrapped around food.
Yeah.
And just little by little, it would creep back up to a certain set point, and there I was. But the diabetes, I think, continued to progress. And particularly in the last 5 years, I've noticed difficulty in terms of metabolizing food. I was gaining a little bit of weight, and then I could tell I was kind of burning muscle. I knew something was off. And I had a kind of an awakening in 2000, it was October of 2000, because I had some heart difficulties and I ended up in the hospital. And at that time, they diagnosed me as a type 1. And my A1C was, I think, 13. It was way up there. And I got an endocrinologist and who started me on insulin. And over the year, I ended up getting the dexcom, continuous glucose monitoring system. And then I finally qualified for the tandem pumps. So those are my techno pieces of equipment that follow me wherever I go,
Right.
And so I really stopped exercising. I really didn't know. I really didn't know quite how to eat. I wasn't quite sure how to exercise, and I love exercising. But I really completely stopped. October of 2020, I really hadn't gotten into a regular exercise regime. I went out a couple of times, and I had low blood sugars, and kind of that was pretty intimidating for me. And so when I heard you on YouTube mainly, and I really liked your philosophy in terms of managing diabetes and also having a life. also being able to, I also like to travel and did a lot of traveling before and haven't gone anywhere since that hospitalization. And I've had opportunities to go, and I just was uncertain about how to manage diabetes and also be away from home. So those were two things that I definitely didn't want to take off the table in terms of my life. I wanted to figure out a way to manage diabetes so that I could travel and enjoy family outings and get-togethers and socialize and also exercise. Those were my three buckets of things I wanted to do again. And so those were the focal points. And I was very clear, even when the first time we talked, I was very clear those were the things that I wanted to accomplish. And I have. That's the good news, is I certainly have improved a lot, and want to continue to improve as time goes on. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know those focal points were very important to you. Before joining the program, like when you were trying to figure out how to do things, what would you say you were struggling with in relation to those? Was it blood sugar stability? Was it a mindset thing? Like, what was the main struggle with diabetes overall?
I think I really didn't know how to manage the highs and the lows. I was yo-yoing, like so many people, I found I'm not the only one. A lot of people go up, and so you try to correct for that, and then you go down. And when that's happening, it created a lot of anxiety for me in terms of how can I go somewhere and do something if I'm doing that, and I really didn't know how to manage it. So I think that was the biggest thing, and fear, and just I really wasn't talking to anybody either. So I was talking to my endocrinologist, but I see her once every 4 months. So and I was I got an appointment with the nutritional specialist, the educator, and she's given me the traditional diabetic rap in terms of what the diet should look like, and it wasn't working very well, and I had a hard time staying on it, and I really knew that there was something better out there, so I started looking out YouTube stuff, and so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, actually, on that side of things, you're looking at things on YouTube. What was there anything else that you did try in terms of trying to fix blood sugars, have more stability there, less yo-yoing
Yeah,
before jumping into the program?
the keto diet's all over the internet, and so is this whole food plant-based vegan information, and it's that so I tried them both for about 2 weeks, and I thought, I just can't stand this for the whole of my life. What happens when my birthday, I'm going to have a birthday on Saturday. So, now neither program gives thumbs up to sweets,
Right.
So I'm clear about that. But what if I do want to have a piece of cake? How do I not yo-yo? And how can I incorporate that? And so I did try the keto diet, and the thing about that really concerned me was eating fats, because if fats cause insulin resistance, then somehow or other I didn't see how that would be good for me. And with the whole food plant-based program, I really started craving meat. So when I was on the keto, I craved carbs. And when I was on the vegan, I craved some animal protein.
Yes.
So it's like neither one of those 100% could I do. I just and so So yeah, so I think where I'm going to end up is probably eating more of the whole food plant-based with a little bit of meat,
Mhm.
occasionally if I crave it. If I crave some, then um, you know, I should pay attention to that, I'm thinking. So those were specific things that I did once I was diagnosed and before I got into your program.
Right. And obviously, as you mentioned, the keto and the low fat, plant based, very different philosophies, right? And you
Yeah.
ended up jumping into our program. What made you take a chance working with us? Some stranger on YouTube who's telling you that you could eat what you want.
Oh, I had been watching you for about 6 months,
Mm.
and I wasn't ready to jump in before the new year because I had just gotten the pump,
Ah,
the tandem pump right before Christmas, and I just needed some time to have a learning curve in terms of how to manage the pump and just the basics with the pump. And so I thought once I get that under my belt in terms of how to change it, and um, so it was about the end of January when I called in. The thing that I just in terms of your YouTube videos, I liked your philosophy. I think more than anything, you were saying the things that were like flags in my mind in terms of what I was looking for. In terms of you have some videos on your trips that you took as a type 1, and that you were going places and doing things and enjoying life and exercising.
mhm.
And you had one where you said you ate like a half a pizza or the whole pizza. Or I'm thinking, and you didn't, and you stayed in range. And I'm thinking, something that I don't know.
Hmm.
So and you presented things in a way that really took this whole diabetes diagnosis out of doom and gloom.
Hmm.
Just your approach and your tone of voice and your body language and just your stories. And so I really I just intuitively felt like we would mesh and gel. So I'm very careful about people that I allow being my senseis or my teachers. And I felt like you really were, you had the knowledge, and also you had a good teaching style, a style that was very upbeat, and that's what I was looking for. So I mean, it just resonated with me. So that's
I
that's why
love
I chose.
that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm happy to hear about that. And as you mentioned, like the pizza thing, right? Like there's something he knows that I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, now you're learning the things that I use and that I know. So, was there a moment going through the program that you were like, ah, it's working? Like the light bulb went off, or you realized that it was working for you?
Yeah, when I started doing pre-boluses, I didn't really
Ah,
know boluses.
hmm,
My doctor really said, when you start to eat, take your insulin then. That's all I was
hmm.
told. That's it. And
Wow.
so, my gosh, there's so much more. And they
Hmm.
didn't talk about proteins and fats, and to pay attention to that. And there's so many um, learning moments in the course of this program, and then having an opportunity to listen to the other folks that are going through. That was tremendous. The repetition of that is very helpful because somebody may say something, or you might have said something, and I missed it the first time, but
Right.
like the second or third time, then I got it, or I understood it. Maybe I heard it the first time, but the repetitions are very helpful, I think.
Hmm.
And it's also good to know that there are other people that are going through the same, and not exactly the same journey, but the journey, and experiencing some of the same things. There were people in the group that were a lot more articulate than I was. And when they put it into words, I thought, that's it, help clarify my own thinking about this management process. So, yeah, it was,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I love that you mentioned like we're not all in the exact same journey, right? Like the same path, maybe we're kind of taking our own routes.
yeah,
And I think that's also why it's so useful to have each person treated as an individual and not just as a generic plan. Because you mentioned your doctor saying pre-bolusing that important? And of course, what you've learned is that pre-bolusing is important, but it's also going to be different for different types of situations, right? Which is
Yeah.
huge, and different
Yeah.
for different people, right?
Yeah.
So as you're kind of learning these new strategies, pre-bolus and the macronutrients and exercise and all of this, what did things look like before you joined the program to now in terms of, did you see any shifts in A1C, time in
Yeah.
range, confidence, anything
Oh,
like
this is the amazing thing in terms of when I first started, my A1C was 7.5 and it's 6.8 now. And
that? Oh, wow.
I mean, that's tremendous. Um, I I've learned a lot about the continuous glucose monitor, the dexcom and tandem, just from listening to other people who have that, and you, in terms of tightening the parameters, the tightening time and range. I did that the minute I heard it the first time. I thought, I'm going to do that, and I did do that. So instead of my daytime high being 200, I pulled it down to 180, and then at night the top range where I get an alert is at 150. And there are many days that I don't, or that I go over that, but overall everything's much better. So that my time in range maybe was at, on many days, was 50 or 60. Now I'm almost always 70 and 80. If I don't hit, if I don't, I'm kind of mixing up the time and range and the alerts. But the other thing that I did was I moved the percentage time in range from 70 to 90. So in order to get that, there's that app that comes along with the Dexcom, where there's a graph, and if you make your goal, if you're over a certain percentage, you get a green highlighted line. And so that game, is how many green highlighted lines can I get? And so by moving it from 70 to 90, I don't have as many green lines, but overall everything is better because I'm looking for that 90 to 100 range every day. And so if I don't make it, it's usually by a very small amount. Overall, I think my A1C is that's what it reflects, is overall, even if I don't get the green line that day, I'm closer to it. So I don't know, did I answer your question? I forgot what your question is.
Yeah, as far as like starting and ending points, I think you mentioned you started the program, was it 40 or 50% time and range? And now you're seeing 70s, 80s, and even 90s?
I'm at 78% time and range now. And I started at 70. So, that's really huge to me. The other improvements that I've noticed is with the exercise component. I started exercising, I think, like the third or fourth week into the program. And the test was to get 70% of your cardiac maximum. And what I noticed is when the first day I went out, all I needed to do was a fast walk, and I was there. And over 2 weeks, now I have to jog in order to get there. So to me, improvement just in terms of my aerobic capacity. And I expect that will continue to improve. And also I have one of those little monitors that it's a sleep monitor that gives you all this information about your sleep. And I've noticed an improvement just in terms of my resting heart rate when I'm sleeping has dropped.
Oh, wow.
Not a lot, but a little bit. And so all of those indicators are like little gifts to me, in terms of wins, you call it wins. Yeah. And let me see. Those are the big, numbers, black and white figures that I've, enjoyed seeing happen. And I do believe will continue. That's my goal, is to continue to tweak it, tweak the program, tweak my management skills so that it will continue to drop. But the other most excellent part for me is the psychological part of things that I've picked up. And I have a background, I'm a mental health nurse practitioner, retired, but I mean, I did that. So I tune into that. I have a tendency to, tune into more psychological components.
Yeah.
And I have a list of like 4 that really resonated with me that I've incorporated every day now. And they're my permanent gifts, really, that I have to thank you and the program for these. And, I mean, I could go through them, but I don't know, you want me to talk about that more?
Yeah, let's hear it. I'm excited.
One of the first things that you said is the very first meeting that we had, you said you need more than motivation. Motivation is important, you said. This is what I heard you say anyway. Motivation is important, but you also need determination. You need to really be determined to get through, to create new habits and to work through whatever barriers you might have. And I use that over and over. I mean, it's expanded into other areas of my life, just in terms of what I want to achieve. And that really clarified it for me, because I know I'm motivated, but sometimes I just don't do it. And it's all about deciding that you're going to do it no matter what. And there's that. The other thing that I really don't think I was aware of in the beginning was how secretive I had been about diabetes and my journey with it. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I mean, I told some of my family members that I had it, but that was all I told them. And they would ask a question or two and I'd kind of shut them down. So don't do that anymore. See, I'm on to it. It really has made a huge difference talking to people about what I'm experiencing. And with my husband, I started with my husband, and I have a couple of friends that I've shared. They're nurses too, so they have a nursing background, they have a medical background, and they understood, a lot of the basics, but they had a lot of questions for me. And I shared the dexcom, my dexcom graph. They can see my numbers. I shared it with them. They're good friends of mine. So I have some accountability with that now. And so, so getting back to other things that really resonated with me, you said that one of the things that you use is, instead of telling myself that I have to do something, you say, I get to do something. And it just really has such a great reframe in terms of how it resonates within. It feels entirely different. And it's important to me to figure out ways to stay positive, to stay motivated, to be okay with this. Because it's so easy not to be. It's so easy to flip into the I hate this, and I don't want to have to deal with it. It's just too easy to do that. So these kinds of reframes, things that we tell ourselves about ourselves and about who we are really crucial. I think they're more important than all the numbers. And in the end of the day, I think they make the decisive difference. Maybe, I don't know.
I agree. If your mindset's not there, you're not going to have the determination to take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge component.
Yeah. I'm just looking at my notes in terms of, I have to share with you that your wins, you always start the conversation with wins. In the beginning, I'm thinking, oh, this is too rah-rah for me. I thought, but after a meeting or two, I decided to just get on board with it. And it has made all the difference in the world to start with what is working,
Mhm.
what is something that has moved you forward or something that you feel good about that's happened. I intend to continue that, in lots of different ways. Um,
Yeah.
about diabetes, but about life in general. And
Mhm.
I found myself making a new habit with that. And that's great. It's just a wonderful thing that you want to tell everybody about and teach kids.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, yeah, I really like it. So I started, you start doing it with other people, where's the win in that? So
Right.
yeah,
I love hearing that.
yeah. So those are pretty much uh, those mental things that really uh, are essential, I think, if
Mhm.
you're really going to develop new habits around diabetes and management of diabetes. So, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, and these all, of course, tie into this new perspective that you have, these new habits that you're building, and the new life that you've created. I mean, you're the one that's putting this work. You showed up, and of course, like you said, you leaned in to the wins. It was kind of silly at first, and you're like, you know what? I'll lean into it. Oh, this is actually helpful, right? You made that decision, and that's just
yeah,
incredible to hear that you had the realization that it can be beneficial.
yeah.
Um, and I also want to circle back. You mentioned like the A1C shift. I think you said 7.5 to a 6.8. Is that right?
That's correct.
And
Yeah.
the time and range increase and all this. You mentioned travel was a big one for you. Has that changed as far as your thoughts on travel? Is that something that you're gearing up for? What's new there?
Oh, I am. Yeah, yeah. I have an opportunity to go out of the country in October, and I paid my flight, and the hotel's paid for, so I've made that commitment. And then between now and October, I'm going to go on some short trips or trips within the country, and I'm going to go to Detroit in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and it's an overnighter. But that'll be the first overnighter for me out of the city that I live, and then I plan to do other trips and maybe go somewhere for 3 days or 5 days or whatever comes up between now and then. The trip that we're going to go to is in Mexico, and we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. So yeah, I mean, I'm making commitments, and um, the biggest difference is I have a game plan now.
Mhm.
I know what I need to take, and based on the conversations that we've had, plus the YouTube video. I love those YouTube videos. Keep those coming.
You got it.
It reminded me that what gets documented gets managed. And you have
Mhm.
said over and over. And in the beginning, I've always considered myself sort of a shoot by the hip kind of girl. I'm not planning. My husband makes lists and goes through his lists. I never make lists, but it's not working for me with
Mhm.
diabetes. And so I decided I have to become more diligent in terms of documenting.
Mhm.
And I have found that as I document things, then I can become curious about what happened, evaluate it, analyze it, and make a different choice. And
Mhm.
so I do see the value in documenting. And I have always resisted writing down in one of those diet ad, not food apps, what I
Mhm.
ate. And I'm doing it now religiously. I just
Oh,
am doing it
wow.
until I get enough of my dietary micros, until I get a stability with that, because I'm in the process of doing some experiments with that.
Mhm.
So that's one example of where documentation really is crucial. With the pre-boluses, I write down what my number is now. I add my carb. I do all the documenting things and what time it is, because I get busy and then I forget what time I gave myself the pre-bolus. you
Right.
know. So I think, as I'm guessing, that as time goes on, it'll become such an ingrained habit that I don't have to document quite as much, but
Right.
it doesn't matter. I am where I am today, and documenting is really the key to taking a look and understanding what's going on, so you can make another choice. So yeah, I'm still kind of loosey goosey when I can be, but
Yeah.
not a fetus, you know.
Yep. And that balance is huge, right? And there's no need to be a robot, but recognizing the power behind documentation can help. I know that we're working on that right now with nutrition and all of that at the moment, which actually brings up a fun point just to mention to everybody else. You're still in the program. Like
I
you got all of these results. You crushed your A1C, your time in range, you're ready
yeah,
to travel in such a short period of time. You're still going through it, and that is just kudos to you for sharing your story before it's been a finished result. You're still in process, but you've come so far in such a short period of time. That's
yeah.
incredible, Robin. That's,
Oh,
that's truly incredible. I love hearing about these things, and then reminding myself, like, wait, she's still working with us. This is all new.
yeah. Well, I don't have. I mean, I'm towards the end of my
Mhm.
tenure, but um, but yeah, I am very. I mean, there aren't enough thank yous to thank you for the information and the, just the guidance. And I'm telling you, it's a life changer. It's a life changing experience, and I'm so glad that I found you, found you in your program. Yeah, it's there aren't enough thank yous, really. I don't know, um, but you do have to follow directions.
Yes.
You have to do what what you've outlined. You have to do it, and I think that if anybody just follows the directions, they'll derive benefit. That their benefit will be unique to them. But I
Mhm.
really think, um, yeah, I think it's a great program. Yeah.
I appreciate that. You just made my day. All
Oh,
the stuff that you're gaining, and just yeah, it's wonderful to watch your transformation. And as you're talking about kind of you finding us and getting into the program and all that, which is in and of itself amazing. Like you were able to make that decision, jump in, and just try something new. But because new things can be scary, I mean, what would you tell someone who maybe is in your position before you started, like when you were first kind of checking us out? Not sure if you want to try a new thing, what advice would you give them in their position?
oh, I just think that you have enough information out there that um, that if it resonates with you, what you see is what you get. I mean, I was uh, I was wondering when I signed up if you were kind of the front person for your business, and that there would be other people to do the coaching.
Hmm.
And so overwhelmed and pleased that you do the work yourself. I mean, you show up for the groups, and for all the meetings. I mean, you are very present. You ask enormously great questions. And but getting back to your question about what I would say to somebody else, um, is that the program works if you follow what the outline is. You will get results. And in my opinion, you have an enormous amount of integrity. So you walk your talk, you know. And and I also think that you're a great teacher, in that you share your own experiences, whether they, were stellar, or, we all have learning moments, and you
Yep.
share your moments. You know? So I would tell them to call you, or to touch base, to sign up for the first chat, and then you can decide from there. There's absolutely no commitment to that first chat and talking to you. And yeah, but I was really taken with your questions. You asked just on the front end, that first meeting, you asked some great questions where I really, things I hadn't considered. And that really got me thinking. My husband has had opportunity to just sort of sit and listen, and he has no medical background at all. He's learned such a tremendous amount from just listening. And if he said it once to me, he said it, 100 times. It was worth every penny,
Oh.
right. He's a businessman,
Mhm.
So yeah, he said that in terms of what you got for what you pay. There's no amount of money really. I mean, you have to come up with a figure. You're in business, but there's no amount of money that covers the gifts that I've gleaned from the program, in terms of just all of the different aspects. But as I was listening to you on YouTube before I signed up, you were just ringing my bell in terms of, yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want. So I felt pretty comfortable. I knew already what you were saying that you were offering. I just didn't know how you went about doing it, but yeah.
Gotcha. And I'm sure that was helpful on the call then when we kind of explained what it is and how we do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about those calls too. People, like you said, there's no commitment. Sometimes people get on the call and I say, you know what, we're not the best fit. Here is the answer that you can use, and it's somebody else. And that's totally
Yeah.
fine. My goal for those calls is just to get people like yourself the best that they can get.
Yeah. There isn't anything I would recommend to you to change. I mean, really, you've been doing this quite a while. I don't know how long you've been doing it, but clearly you've tweaked the program. I even think the length is spot on. And I just all the different puzzle pieces. Really, I can't recommend anything to change. And there was nothing blaring in my experience that I would change. Worked for me.
I'm happy to hear that. We are always looking for ways to innovate and improve. And yeah, it has been tweaked quite a bit over the many years that it's been in existence.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that it was helpful for you and guided you along this process.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything else that you'd like to add today before we wrap this one up?
I think we covered most of everything that I was had to offer in terms of my progress, and I just want to continue to tweak it and learn new things, and now I've got other people, because now that I'm talking about it, there's other people. I was so alone before, and now I feel like I'm connected to. I'll create my own community because I see the value in talking about it and writing it down. So yeah, that's one thing I'll do. Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Absolutely. And I wanted just to draw attention to this last thing before we wrap up today is that, yes, the program has been tweaked and innovated and improved over the years to be what it is, to have guided you, but that's all it was a guide. You put the work in, you showed up to all the calls. The A1C didn't drop magically, right? It's because of the choices and the dedication that you had. So I just wanted to say, Robin, that I am so proud of you and all of the hard work that you put in. I know that it's not easy, but you showed up, you put the work in, and now we get to share this incredible story and this journey that you've been on. So great job, Robin. Love that you've been able to do that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And everybody else, I know that Robin mentioned, get on that call. There's only one way you can get on the call, and it's after watching a free training that I put together, because I want to make sure that you know what we're all about. Robin obviously talked a lot about the philosophy that I have on diabetes management, So you can go watch that for free. I believe it's the same one that Robin watched. In fact, the first thing. So you can go check that out for free at diabetesinaction.com. Watch the whole video. If you like what you see, you can sign up for a call and we'll have a chat. Robin, again, thank you so much for your time today, for sharing this incredible, inspiring story. And I can't wait to see how much further you take this thing. Amazing job.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Everybody else, thank you for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next time. So, as you heard within that episode, Robin shared some great insights, and obviously she's doing incredible in the program. She's a hard worker. She listens to directions very well, and she implements, and that's one of the keys, right? You need the information, but you also need to implement with the information. If you feel like you're struggling with your diabetes, there is help available, but you gotta reach out. No one knows to reach out to you, so you have to take that first step yourself. If you know that you could use a little bit of help, assistance, or even maybe just kind of a run through of getting a plan together, there is a way for us to help you, but you got to go watch that training first. It's completely free. You got to check it out. And if you enjoy that training, there is an opportunity to get some feedback to you that is personalized at the end of that video. All right. So again, go over to diabetesinaction.com, check it out. Maybe you'll be the next version of Robin that we get to hang out with and help you on your journey with type 1 diabetes. So I'll see you over there. Be sure to subscribe if you have not yet, but let's go check out that training, diabetesinaction.com. I'll see you next week and keep up the fight.